us shortly. We're hoping to get more members on because we got a special guest this evening. Before we talk a little bit about what we're doing and I've been doing, I'd like to introduce my engineer who's been co-hosting with me. We've been doing this. This month would make a full year that Ralph and I sat down and had a long conversation about what can we do since we're not going to be on the courts. And we've been doing this almost a whole year now. And it's been something of a pleasure to involve ourselves in the referee community, being off the court. And I think that is so important. Ralph, you like to say hello, say a few words?
Just good evening, everybody. Always a pleasure to be on these calls with Bernard. In fact, it has been a year. I can't believe that it has been a year of dealing with this pandemic, but at the very least, I've always found solace on these Thursday nights and getting connected with my referee community. And for me, at least, I got back on the court about a month ago, and I felt like I was really sharp because of how we've stayed involved this whole time. Really excited for our special guest tonight. Just would like to ask, when I do cede power to make him the host, make sure that everybody's on mute, so that way we avoid any type of interruptions when there is a presentation. But I thank you, everybody, for your continued support each and every week. And I thank you, Bernard, for your transition of getting me on this. All right?
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
Thank you. I personally am very thankful as well to all of you. For those of you who joined us later into this year of doing this, but those who've been with us throughout the whole year, kudos to you guys and young ladies. I am so thankful to the point of just giving me an opportunity to stay involved in the referee community and offer opportunities or knowledge through my network of friends and relationships that I've built to have referees learn and gain knowledge, even though they're not on the basketball court. I think it's very important to understand the importance of networking, building relationships on and off the court so that you can become the best official that you can be. I think that is so important for us. I met this young man a few years ago at the IAABO conference, and we probably crossed paths many times, but never got up in front and close and spoke to him. And over the last 3 years or so, we've just built such a great relationship and bond through Donnie Ethley. And Felix is just a super executive director for IAABO. And he's in behind the scenes just handling business. And I appreciate everything that he's bringing to the IAABO organization that I'm involved with, that I'm proud of to be part of, and to be able to share my knowledge and to hope that other officials can piggyback off of the knowledge that he's going to share with us and some of the goals that we're looking forward to. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Felix Addeo, our Executive Director from IAABO. Thank you.
Okay, we'll share the screen now, Ralph.
Yeah, you should have full access as the host, so you'll be able to share the screen.
Okay, let's see if we get here. Okay, everybody see okay, or we can move over a little bit?
We're good.
We can see that.
Great. Bernard, thanks so much. And I may have misheard you, but I think you said young man. That's,
yes, sir.
All right, that's good to know. All right, but it's a pleasure to be here, and on behalf of IAABO and all of the people that work for IAABO, we work collaboratively and would like to bring some kind of information to you tonight about schools going to camps and what you think you may be able to get out of the process. To actually start out with summarizing this, people can teach you all you want. If you don't learn, if that transition of knowledge and that transfer of knowledge doesn't take place, you'll be just spinning your wheels along the way. So the essence of all of this is that you must put in the effort in order to realize the benefit of the schools and the camps that you may be attending. There is no magic to this. It often reminds me of two scenarios. One, when my oldest son was going to college, he was an athlete playing sports, putting in about 15 hours a day, at his school between traveling, going to practice or having games and coming back, doing homework and so forth. I told him when he went to college, he was going to spend 15 hours a week, 5 courses at 3 credits, 15 hours a week in school, 168 hours in a week. What are you going to do with the other 153 hours? And that really is an important, and he always thanked me for that because he did make good use of his time. I'm very proud of the way all 3 of my sons conducted themselves at Georgetown University. So it really is what you put into it. Also, I remember studying for the CPA exam. I attended a class 4 nights a week, and I was going, cramming myself, learning everything, or I thought I was anyway. And then someone said about 3 weeks into the session, my friend took this course and he failed all 4 parts of the CPA exam. I said, oh my goodness. So I came to that realization that just attending doesn't do it. You have to put in effort to make yourself better. You have to identify goals and wants and needs. So with that somewhat of an introduction as to where it is, this is really a 2-way street. You can go to the best school or camp around, but if you're not willing to work on the things and the information that you get there, you may not get to where you want to go. And it's important to have that work ethic that's involved. So the one thing we know that selecting a camp, one size does not fit all. There are different objectives and different goals and camps at very different levels. So as you can see, it's very neatly on the left-hand side, trying to pick out the right size and the right school and the camp that you're going to go to. But if you don't do your homework and you don't follow up, you may find yourself in a pile just seeking and searching for something that may not be beneficial to you. So what do we say you have to do? You really have to select a school or a camp that you look for the one that's tailored to your wants and needs. Okay, you measure up, you see what it is. Yes, you have to be critical because it's a marquee name, because there's a staff of high-level individuals that may not be at the time right for you. That's where you need the mentors and the people to help you to select the proper training program for you. So measure that up, think about it, and just don't jump in to something that you may not be ready for. Now, the types of schools and the camp experience that you may have, there are teaching camps, typically called the schools. You will go in and you will be involved in a somewhat of a curriculum. There may be some rules-based. They're not always rules-based. There is an assumption that you know the rules, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. But they will teach and train, and these are probably in the area of new officials 1 to 3 years and so forth. This fits that goal. Then we have some training camps. Of course, there's always a little bit of teaching involved in any of the camps that you go to. But the training is taking you one step further than the basic classes. Maybe you're 3 to 5, 3 to 10 year individuals looking to pursue something better. Then we have, starting to move up the rungs of the ladder, we have these tryout camps where you're actually going to show your wares, your skills, to move yourself up into a level that's further above than where you are right now. And then, of course, the ultimate is mostly at either a professional level or somewhere there is a hiring camp. They're looking to actually hire people. Many of the Division I, NBA, these are hiring type of camps. And looking through, and the objective of each and every one of these, you need to see what piece you fit into. You never want to get too far ahead of yourself. And it's always worth it to review something maybe a little bit lower to polish some skills that you have. All right. Make sure that you're in shape in both body and mind. Now, what are we going to say here? Physical shape. If you're not in the physical shape, you don't look the part, you don't run the part, you don't carry yourself well, you are probably going to fall a little bit behind in competing in one of these schools and or camps. Rules knowledgeable. There is no excuse for not knowing the rules. You don't need to go to a camp. You have mentors, you have interpreters at your local boards, you have colleagues, you have friends. And the biggest thing you have in front of you, you have your rules book. Read it, take a look at it, take areas of concern, and so forth. So you should not be going to a school or a camp to learn the rules. You should be rules knowledgeable when you start out on this venture. You need to be approachable. You need to be able to accept what either camp counselors or staff are going to throw at you, what the game is going to throw at you. And we'll talk a little bit of that as we go along. And focused. Don't waste your time and your money if you're not focused on the goal and objective of each of the camp that you're going to. You must be enthusiastic. You have to show. You're going in there with a chip on your shoulder or you've got a rough day. It's the same way as we say when you're starting a basketball game. Leave all your problems in the parking lot. For that moment, the game is the most important thing. So that for the time you enter one of these schools, you have to have be approachable, have the focus, and be enthusiastic in order to participate. And you have to be eager to learn. And learning only takes place when it's properly taught and it's properly accepted and received by the individual who's attending the school. So being in shape is not necessarily, you can have the greatest physique. If you don't have all of the other intangibles that go along with it, it's probably going to put you not in the spot that you hope to get to. Be capable of taking criticism, even if you don't agree with it. You know, there's many times that we're being taught by people of position, people of a certain element of power, let's say, that they will give you information that you may not necessarily agree with, but ears open and eyes open, always the best response for those things. You want to take in as much as you can when you're attending one of these environments. And rules knowledgeable, just to expand on that. I love this quote. I've been using it for years. Enthusiasm without knowledge is like running in the dark. I mean, you can be so solid and focused and willing to do whatever it takes, take any game, go anywhere and do what you want. Without the rules knowledge, you're not really going to succeed. Basic minimum skills are expected, and you need to practice those skills every day. Approachable. He or she who keeps his or her tongue and mouth keeps out of trouble. You need to look, listen, and this is why you're going. When something isn't working, don't change your dream, just change your approach. If you think it's not happening your way, you really have to take a good look in the mirror and say, am I being as objective and as approachable and as focused and as enthusiastic as I should be? So I don't want to quit. I want to pursue my dream. So maybe the approach needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Excuse me 1 second, Phyllis.
Sure.
Can you let those individuals trying to get in?
No, did they pay their nickel?
I know we're gonna have to put that on the notice. Ralph, did you let them all in?
I can't let him in because Felix is the host. No, I don't have the ability to.
Want me to stop sharing and start over again? I mean,
No, you could just accept them to add them into the call, and then you can go back.
okay, you want me to accept them?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Participants invite. Let's see. Admit all.
Yes.
We got it?
Yeah. We're good.
All right.
Thank you.
Victor's in there, admit one. Okay, for those of you just joining, you didn't miss much.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so here we are. We're talking about being approachable. So when something isn't working, we'll reiterate, don't change your dream. Maybe you need to change your approach. All right. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing an opinion. All right. Everybody has opinions, but it's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. That's off President Lincoln. So what you really want to do is you're attending because someone is taking the position of teaching and training. You can do an evaluation later on. You may not agree with 100% of the techniques, teaching methodologies and staff and so forth. That's something for you to do as an evaluation. But when you go, you must be open-minded, must be focused, must be enthusiastic and willing to partake in what's being offered to you at these camps. So doing your homework is important. Questions about expectations and goals. We have to do a little bit of self-assessment here before we engage in any of these camps. And remember, they're only going to give what they believe will help you along the way. You should really identify these items and have these questions answered before you attend. What do you expect from attending here? You're paying some money, you're attending a camp, you may be giving up a weekend, you may be sleeping overnight, you may be doing other things. What are your expectations? And these expectations have to be real and solid in order for you to buy in and commit with the focus and enthusiasm that we're talking about here. So you really have to look at that. What areas do you expect to work on? Do you think you're just going to go and get a schedule? Not going to happen. You may not even be attending a camp that has games to offer. You may be attending a camp that has the finest quality of instruction that's going to help you develop, and you ought to take that information and turn it into your own at some point in time. Will your strengths be reinforced? Or are you going somewhere where they're just going to knock down, yeah, you were out of position on this one, you didn't do that. You need to know, and really from a camp instructor's standpoint, they have to hear something good every once in a while for them being there. And you'll see what we mean a little later on. Will contacts be made? Chances are you will. You'll meet some people, you'll meet some attendees who you may be working with or maybe from your area, may become friends later on. You may make contacts with an assigner in an area that you live or you reside. This typically happens at local camps if there are games to be given. And many of the good camps and the good schools are there for the training and not necessarily the trade-off for the games. Although games are nice, we all like them, but there's no guarantee. Are you looking to get on a staff? Is this somewhat of a mini tryout camp? Are you prepared for that? Or are you going to blow it because you came too early and your name will be remembered as one who really failed that day? That you don't want. So it's always better to start a little earlier and a little lower level to get yourself and your skills honed before you take that big step of either a tryout and certainly a for-hire type of environment. And the real question that you have to ask, and this will only be answered when it's all said and done, will you be better than when you started? Was the curriculum satisfactory for you? Did it bring you the things that you need to up your game and up your involvement in your association and with your crew? Curriculum and staff. You really want to know who's going to be there. Will there be classroom sessions as well as on-court experience? Or is this a situation, and this has happened before, someone procures a league or games and they need to fill it with bodies, and they're going to just put you on the court and let you run around and then tell you at the end, by the way, this, and this. So are there structured sessions? Are there structured on-court experiences? Or is it just let's toss the ball up and see what you've got? Is it a sleepover or a drive-to environment? I mean, that's critical. I mean, you need to know if you're sacrificing for your family, and if you're doing all that and paying for all of that, what am I going to get out of it? What is my desire to get something out of it? What is the fee? Is it cost effective? Am I getting the benefit I obtain for the fee that I'm paying? Once again, you can see we're talking about the camps. These are things you must do in order to find your spot and where you belong. How many courts are available for games? You've got 30 people and there's one court. How much on-court time do you think you're going to get? Inquire, find out. What is the ratio of staff to attendees? Are 2 people running this whole thing with 6 courts? 12 teams running out there and you're being thrown onto it and no one can see what you're doing? Or is the ratio of staff to attendees? Do you have a 2 staff for each game, whether it's a crew of 2 or a crew of 3? It would be ideal if a staff member was just watching you in a 2-person game and your trail, your lead, your positioning, and all they had to do was focus on you. Doesn't always work that way. And it's very difficult for someone to adequately evaluate a crew of 3 fully in a camp environment if they're the only one doing it. You just can't watch. Just like we all have our PCAs in a crew of 3, you can't really watch 3 people all the time. So you get a more intense evaluation when the staff to attendee ratio is in your favor. You may not like the things that they say, but we said that those are the things you're going to have to deal with. And how many observers will be at each game? So you might have a staff member and 2 or 3 observers. You may not even know who they are, but as long as somebody's there and going to evaluate you, that's where you're going to derive value from attending this camp. What are the qualifications of the staff? It's interesting. You can see some of the best players in all games that we have don't always make the best coaches. I always said number 12 on the bench of a basketball team probably learns more because he's in more huddles and more strategy sessions than the 5 people that are out on the floor. Sometimes those people make the best coaches along the way. So just because you have a marquee name or someone there, are you really getting the value, and are they the trainer that you really want to see? So these are all food for thought, and these are things that you must evaluate, curriculum and staff, before you actually step into an environment. Attendees, how many hours can you expect to be in training and officiating? Do you know someone who has attended this camp? Do you know 5 people? What is their opinion? Now, the reason I would say 5 people is if one person had a bad experience because they didn't have the intestinal fortitude to take either the criticism or the corrections or the direction that was given, all of a sudden they write off the place and they're ready to tell it. So it's never good to get one person's opinion on that. So if you know someone who's attended, then you want to get a multitude or a cross section of experiences and someone who can help you out with it. If not, speak with the directors, speak with the people with which you're applying to, and they will give you some insight as to what their goals are. Will you be videotaped? And could this possibly include audio, where someone is actually following you around saying that you should be closing down, you should become a little wider, you could have stepped back to open up, many things like that. You walk away with a tape of your own game with some competent staff person evaluating you. It's an invaluable experience when you see that and you have that. What's the average years and experiences of the attendees? You don't want to be a 10-year person going to a camp for 1 to 2 or 3 year people that are refereeing games that are 7th grade and below. You know, make sure you're going, just because you know someone or you see someone, you don't want to go that low. And the antithesis is true. You don't want to go to a camp that's well above your experience level, because once again, the bad news travels a lot faster than the good, and you don't want to be written off before you really get your career started. Are you just a number, or will you be immersed? Are there 30 people in one court? Are there 30 people in 4 courts of attendees? This is the kind of environment that you would like to see yourself in. And will you receive a comprehensive evaluation, or you're just not ready? Thanks for the fee. That you never want to hear. So you want to make sure that you're going to a camp that's either in the teaching and training environment in your early years. And then look, the tryout camps and the higher camps are a whole different league and level. So, you know, prerequisites are very important at that level. So keep that in mind. And you really don't want to walk away with thanks for the fee. You really want more out of it than that. You have to know yourself. And this is about all officiating, basketball and every sport. You really have to know your emotional intelligence. You're in a tough environment. What are your triggers? And how do you cope with stress? Looking at this, there's 4 areas of the emotional intelligence. And what is emotional intelligence? The ability of individuals to perceive, assess, and manage emotions of oneself, others, and of groups. That's a heavy load. That's a heavy load, but that's what you're signing up for. Not only in a camp, but also to put yourself out there on the court. You're going to go out there, and this is the task that you're taking for whatever the fee is. You need to have self-awareness. You need to have self-management, control, and conviction. Social awareness. Know what's happening in the environment. That's your entire court. Know what's happening with all 10 players that are before you, and even what's happening on the bench every once in a while you have to look at. And relationship management. There are 10 people on that floor all vying for that one basketball. There's going to be some type of contact, emotions, and success and failures as you're going through the game. And this is the same thing if you're going to a camp or to a school. You want to be self-aware, you want to have your self-management, socially aware, knowing that you're in a teaching and learning environment, and you want to make the relationships and manage those relationships for the future. That could be really life-lasting. Emotional intelligence, we had that. Triggers. Triggers are external events or circumstances that may produce responses such as anxiety, panic, discouragement, negative self-talk. You have to overcome this. The way you overcome this, quite simple. Experience. You get many games under your belt. You get tutoring and training from the best that are out there. The Bernard Bowens, anyone else that you have come in contact with to help you, to give you the encouragement and the training that you need to keep these triggers in control and to avoid them. Coping with stress is really how your emotional intelligence manages your triggers. So what you really want to do is pull all of this together. It's not a psychology class, but there is a lot of intangible that goes on with officiating in this game.
Felix, can I cut you off a second? Sure. Again, please? Yep. Can you just let those other individuals who are in late, let them in as well, accept them in?
All right, let's see how we did that now.
And I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Let's see if the admit sign is not up there.
Thanks, Bernard.
Thank you, Ken.
Participants, there we go. Admit all. That's what I did. I'm trying to admit all tonight.
They're getting in now.
All right, we good?
Not yet.
Felix, you should be surprised. You're going to have 100 people there.
Is that right? I don't know, Ken.
They don't know you.
That's good. That means I'll get out the door alive. All right, we good?
Yes, let's go.
All right. see where we
And
were.
sorry
Okay.
about that.
That's okay. We're going to look at a couple of ways, 8 ways to really get what you want. And this is what you need to do and get yourself to the right environment. Have to know the rules. No question about it. That's tantamount to anything that you do. You show integrity, no bias. There's another statement that I've used in a number of presentations. If you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. So you got to keep that in mind. I mean, this is what you have to be. You have to have that integrity, that fortitude, and no bias as to what you're doing out in that environment. You need to become a communicator. We communicate through our signals, through mechanics, techniques, but we do speak, and we have to choose our words carefully, whether we're being observed or evaluated at a camp or a school, or we're actually in the throes of a game. You have to look good at all times, and that means physically and emotionally. You have to look good. The face has to have that controlled look about it, as well as the look and the demeanor of being well dressed and well coiffed in that regard. Stay in shape. That's physical and mental shape. Listen. Position properly, and most important, get the plays correct. That's what makes you. These are the things you want to do and what you want to become by immersing yourself in a school, networking with the right people, and finding them. These are the things that should be on your list if you don't have your goals and your objectives. You want to find out how you position yourself properly. What is the best way to get the plays correct at all times? How do I become a better communicator? These are all the intangibles that you need other than the rules knowledge, but it all starts with that. Things you should learn at a camp. You should learn that on occasion, you're going to expect to fail. You're going to kick a play. You might be dead wrong. And we all know when I was officiating, nobody had a camera. It was easy for me to tell them what I saw, even though they didn't see the same way. Every mother, every father, everybody has a camera when they have a phone. So expect to be wrong once in a while. How you deal with that failure, how you deal with that pressure is all part of what's going to make you what you hope to be. Decide on your wants and needs. And what is success to you? It's different for everybody else. I mean, you might be a first-year person and you want to go to every camp that you possibly can because Division I or the NBA is in your sights. Well, if you don't take the rungs of the ladder one at a time, you're probably going to fall faster than you will climb on some of these things. So get your goals, get your objectives in order, and see how you can do it. Have the clearly defined goals as we talk. Understand your response mechanism. You have to work on that. You're going to be in a pressured situation, either in a camp or in a ball game. And really with the camp, it's even more pressure too. You've got people looking at you, critiquing you. You can ignore people in a game. You can't ignore people at a camp or a school.
Let me interrupt you again.
Sure.
You got another person trying to get in that's going to surprise you.
Okay, let's see. Right.
You let him in.
Or rename. Come on. Or can I grab him now? Invite. Yeah, I'm having a little difficulty with this one, Bernard. Let me see.
Ralph, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't have the ability to do it.
Let him
Only
switch it in. Should he?
Okay. I just won't have the ability to share my
All
screen.
right, I'll
and
stop
have it.
share for now, and then I'll do it again.
Let them all. Ralph, if you go ahead and let him in, that's
No problem.
Leroy trying to get in. So
Okay.
Al Felix, I wanted to make sure Leroy said hello.
Okay, good. I would have left him out.
Yeah.
I
Did you
don't
get
see
him, Ralph?
I don't see anybody waiting right now.
Hold on.
Oh, Felix is still the host.
Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, I think we're here, right?
Yep.
Okay, understand your response mechanism. and how to handle criticism. These are the things you need to learn. And if you're not going to get it at the camp you're at, and once again, they're going to teach and train in specific areas, but you need to develop that repertoire and be honest with yourself as to what your goals are. What is success for you? That's really what you need to determine. And then I'm going to finish up a little bit with here. There's only so much room at the top. So really, we can't all have the same objective as being the best or the number one. We're in this. It's an avocation for many people. I've got an admit up here. Let me see if I can get somebody. So it's not always that you're going to the top and that you're going to, there's Leroy now.
Can you let him in?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So there's only so much room at the top. You're not always going to be liked. So if you're in this game to be liked as an official, you can be liked as a colleague, you can be liked as a mentor, you can be liked as a mentee, but don't expect to go out there and satisfy everybody. The recipe for failure is to try and please everyone. You've got to please yourself out there by making your rulings and sticking with the rules, knowledge, and the things that you've learned. You'll learn to ignore the fans. This is a journey, and every game counts, and it's a building block. Every game that you officiate, every mistake you make, every good thing that you do should be either mentally logged, and you should build on that to get to your ultimate goal. You will not survive if you don't listen. If you're always telling people and you're saying, yeah, but I did this, but the reason I did that, nobody wants to hear that. They'll give up on you before it's over. Become a listener. Hook on to a mentor and then become a mentor. Always give back. The most important thing, it's countless people. I have 5 in particular that helped me to get to where I wanted to be and what I was able to do within my own personal life. For my own business and so forth, and I did, and I've enjoyed every moment of it, and the friends I've made. Evaluations can appear hurtful, and you're going to get that at a school, you're going to get that from your supervisor and the people that assign you games. Never stop learning because you do not know it all ever. Fitness is a necessity, and not all people will help you. You have to remember that. There are some people that want to be where you are. They may not help you. So don't expect it. Reach out, but if you don't get it, move on. And if you stick around, you'll make lifetime friends. And that's really what this whole organization is about. So what we're saying here is, ideally, you'd like to be composed, under control. If you pick the wrong school and you pick the wrong environment and you're doing the wrong things, this is the signal that we use for that. So don't make the mistakes of picking the wrong environment for you. And here's what we're trying to say is you only get out what you put in. It's not where you go, but it's how you choose to get there. And that's the most important thing that you have. If you don't have your mental and emotional side of this set up, you're just not going to do it by refereeing game after game after game. You can be doing the same thing for 20 years, and that same thing is wrong. So keep in mind that you only get out what you put in. Bernard, that's what I've got.
Well, thank you so much, Felix. There's a lot of knowledge. For those who got on late, where hopefully I can get a copy or we can go over it again. But one thing that we all should take into note is that when we have guests and they come on, they're here for everyone. And we should be focused enough to understand that it's important for us to be on time. Those who get here on time, for certain reasons why we may not be able to make it because we have other obligations, understood. But everybody sees who's here and who's not. And if we do this, especially when there are other assigners on the call and they see who show up late to a call, you can imagine if they think of you showing up late to a game that they assign you to. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned around being on time, even if it's on the court at a meeting. Because when you go to camp, there's going to, especially away camps, there's going to be sessions that you're going to have to go to a lecture. And you're going to have to be to that lecture hall or to that classroom on time, because walking in there late is just going to put put an asterisk next to your name. So we should practice that now as we start to use these Zoom sessions, learn to be on time and be accountable for it. We may come up with an idea. I don't know if I'll ever collect it. Maybe we can do a collection and donate it back to IAABO. I may ask everybody who gets on a call late to give us 5 cents or a $5 bill, and we donate it back to IAABO. It's just a suggestion, but I'm thinking about it. But I got another guest on. Mr. Leroy Hendricks has joined us. Big brother to me. I love him. We just want to hear a few words of what he's been through. And tell us a little bit about what he does here in the metropolitan Northeast area as the assigner for PSAL, and there's so many other things that he do around the basketball community. Mr. Leroy Hendricks, come on and say hello.
Good evening, everybody, and I apologize for being late, but we had a PSAL call. Executive Donald Douglas passed away last Friday, suddenly, 58 years old. He had an accident in Jamaica and he cracked his knee and was in the hospital, and in his sleep, he passed away. So PSAL called a call at 6 o'clock. So Mike Howard and myself was on that call, and I was able to get some wisdom from Felix over the years. We don't have to say years, Felix, but it's a lot of years in my years in Jersey over there with the Jersey guys. You know, I'm pre-camp. So when I was coming up the ranks, they didn't have camps. And camps evolved, and the best way to advance yourself, everybody thought, was to go to camp. But when you go to camp, I don't care whose camp it is, you're not going to get anything out of the camp unless you put something into it. Now, if you go into somebody's camp because you're trying to get division 1, 2, 3, or whatever, and there's 25 guys there, personality becomes one thing. You know, who you know becomes another thing. So if you go in there with the idea that you're going to get into somebody's league or whatever because you paid your way into that camp, then you're fooling yourself. You know, you need to go to camp, yes, but you investing in yourself. So like Felix said, if you don't want to get something out of it, why waste the money? Or, and in my case, I used to say, why waste my time as an instructor trying to give you some tips or whatever on certain things because you can't see yourself and don't see what you're doing. And, you know, you get the, yeah, I know. And we all have met them, the I know guys. And when you hear I know, you say, okay, I'll see you in wherever. But I heard Felix say near the end there, talking about getting to the top. And one of the things I always use, right? I use the pyramid system. The strongest part of this pyramid is not the top, it's the bottom. Because the bottom holds the top up. And the majority of the people are on the bottom and in the middle. When you're on top, everybody's shooting at you. Everybody's shooting at you. We're looking to knock you off. And you're not as good as your last game. You're as good as your next game. You could have a great game yesterday and have a terrible game tomorrow, and it can wipe you out. You know, there was a saying when I was growing up, you know, you get 100 attaboys and one I got you, wipe them all out. You know, so, and I tell this to young men and women today, invest in yourself. You know, don't ask nobody else to do it for you. Do it yourself. Look at yourself. Look and see how you look. You know, you walk out there disheveled, and I used to teach, and the guys still tell me, the most important part of your body when you officiate are your feet. People don't think about that. And when I say your feet, I'm talking about your shoes, your inner soles, your orthotics, because when your feet don't work, the rest of your body ain't gonna work. And we see the guys that can't get up and down the court because they got bad feet. I've known people that would never buy a new pair of shoes for 4 or 5 years. That's crazy. It's crazy. And all you're doing is hurting your feet. If you don't take care of your feet, the rest of your body is going to eventually go down. That's my deal, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Well, I was happy that you got a moment to join us. We're looking forward to you in our local camps that we're going to try to have to get the guys ready, especially in Board 42, 37, 119, around that areas of inviting everybody to it, and hope that Leroy, you'll come and be one of the clinicians or at least be a lecturer during one of those camps. Thank you so much. Now we also have the president of Board 42, Mike Howard. He's here. I know he was at the PSAL meeting as well. But I'd like for Mike, would you say a few words and say hello to Felix? And then we'll go to Steve Ellinger after that.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Felix, thank you very much for sharing your time and wisdom. Bernard, be sure if Board 42, we have our camp, Leroy will be there. Okay, I have to go to Brooklyn to get him or Queens to get him. He will be there. Okay, because you can't.
I didn't say it, Leroy.
We can't have a camp without him.
I know that's right.
Tonight's speech was about camps, and Leroy was one of my mentors, and I spent time at Hoop Mountain. I spent time at Edgar Guitado's camp. And, sometimes it's just not, some days it's just not your time. I felt I was a good official, top official, but I'm very high in the Catholic schools. PSAL was a little struggle, but I eventually got there. I did well in the college level, but sometimes it's just not your time. And you have to understand, nothing personal, but one of the things you learn, and today we have a lot of guys who say, I know. And that's the sad part, because one of the things I've learned from working under Leroy and other guys, if I came into a locker room at halftime and my partner had something to say to me about something that I did not do because he was busy looking in my area and not watching his, I wouldn't argue with him. I would just keep my mouth shut, because I have a second half to go out there and work with that guy. I don't want to argue with him. Now, after the game, I might have a discussion, but at halftime, if you got something to say to me about what I didn't do or what I should have did, and I'm saying, well, I was looking in my area, I guess you were too, and just leave it alone. Too many guys, I watch high school games when we have the season. I'm out there 5 days a week. And I can tell when I can go into a gym and I say, oh, I have A and B, I don't have to stay here too long. There are other games I would sit down and watch and learn and go in and speak with people. But today we have too many of the I know. It's sad, but we have a saying, after 2 years, now you have guys want to come out and be supervisors of officials, as opposed to going on and continue to learn the craft. So I just want to say, Felix, thank you very much. Leroy, always a pleasure. Yeah, we're bouncing from one meeting to another today, Leroy, but it'll be over soon. But tomorrow's waiting on us, so we can just pick it up and keep going again. Thanks very much.
I got two tomorrow too.
Thank you, B. You got it.
Okay, thank you both, as usual. We also have a couple of other gentlemen that can give us some feedback who oversee some camps, and ask for them to give us some of their thoughts and things that they look for in camps from referees coming through. Doug Bushman, are you on still?
I am, Bernard. I'm still here. Thanks.
Great. Doug is down in the Board 12. Doug, would you give us a little bit of things that you think about, that you look for in some officials that's actually, you ask to attend camps or when you're doing camps?
At our camps, and we have two different level camps, but at the basic level camp, it is really be able to know your product, know the rules, not screw them up, You know, you're there to demonstrate. So you have to put in the effort, you have to know the rules, and you have to run your game. You know, as Al Batista always says, at camps, you're looking for people who are going to step up and be ours. So make sure you're aware of your product and are able to run your game. You know, and at the higher level camps, it's really just it's looking for people to be a good crew, and it will fit together well, are willing to work with each other, help each other, teach each other. You know, because we need to mentor all along and not make it a competition of I can make you look bad, therefore I look better. We can't be attacking each other all the time. So at the higher level camps, I just really look for good crewmates.
Great, thank you for that feedback. And that is awesome because a lot of officials think about it in that aspect that, oh, I'm better than this person. Oh, I look better than that person. You have to understand, you got to look at yourself and worry about yourself. Don't get to critiquing others, critique yourself. And what you don't know, always be open to feel that feedback that when it comes back, it's not personal. And that's one of the big things that I used to look at when I was happy to be up at Hoop Mountain and I was always on the mic. And by being on the mic, you're able to speak to a player an official at the moment that it's happening. So when we view the tape, they hear the critiquing, and they can attest to what's actually happening during those things. So we're looking forward to seeing that happen with more camps, and you should be thinking of it in that aspect when feedback is coming to you, positive or negative. What did you get out of it? What is going to be your response? How are you going to deal with it? Because the more that you become a listener, and one thing that I always say, if I tell you something in a clinician's standpoint, if I tell you something to do it a certain way, when you walk up that court, after I told you, you as a camper should always come back to that clinician and say, did I look better? Is it better? Did I understand what you talked about? Because that clinician will look at you as like you was a sponge to what you just were told. And being a sponge, now you wringed it out by going out on the court and applying what you were just taught. Those are things that I think is so important to understanding when you go into a camp, regardless if it's local, teaching, or tryout. If you're not a good listener, you're not going to be able to move on because it's going to stop you at a certain point. And certain points that you don't want to be stopped at would be not by the action of being verbal. It'd be saying, thanks for your money and you had a great camp, as Felix ended with that. Steve Ellinger, would you come on and give us some of that feedback? And I know you've been at a lot of camps and critiqued at a lot of camps, and we love your feedback as always.
I've got many $1,000s of mechanics in me. I think the most important thing that Felix talked about is know the reason that you are going to camp, and you've got to be honest with yourself, and you need to get feedback from 4, 5, 6 people who have been to a camp. And you don't want to talk to people that are just going to yes you to death or patronize you or tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes you need to hear things that you don't want to hear. Like you might not be ready for this camp. If you just finished your 2nd or 3rd year, it's unrealistic to think that you're going to go to a Division I camp and get hired. You'll learn something, but you're going to be intimidated because everybody else there is looking to be hired. Control what you can control. There is very little in this officiating business that we control. We generally don't have any say-so over our partners, where we go, or how we advance. But what you can control is what camps you go to. So if you go to a camp for the right reason and you control that environment, you're going to get the most out of it. And the last thing I'd leave you with is ask questions about who is on the camp's staff. Just because somebody is a Final Four official or a state tournament official does not necessarily make them a good teacher. So if a camp is trying to wow you with names of successful officials, start asking some questions of people that have officiated and been critiqued by those people, and see what kind of input they got. Because like I said, the mere fact that you work the Final Four, that you work your state tournament, that you work a college tournament or a high school tournament, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good teacher. And that's what you want to get out of the camp. You want to leave that camp as a better official than you were 3 days before. Thanks, Bernard.
That's great. I appreciate it. One of the things that I know Felix also brought up, and we always talk about that, Ralph and I did a session on camp, about a camp, and how do you go to a camp? How do you prepare yourself in doing the homework that you're going to do with all the things that were just spoken upon? But there's a piece that comes with that, is how do you network? You go to camp with a friend or somebody on your local board, and you get up at that camp, and then all you do is you sit with that guy from the local board. That's, to me, is, you know, that person already. You want to learn how to broaden your skills. You want to learn how to communicate. You want to learn how to meet other folks. That relationship that you're at camp, that you're sitting with another camper, you and that person may be roughing the game during being critiqued. And because you had a communication line that was opened up, you seem like you work better, and the chemistry looks like it's a lot more smoother. So these are little things that you want to also think about when we talk about networking and leaving a camp. There's nothing wrong with taking a phone number. I remember having someone that actually lived in Staten Island came up to the camp and never knew him. And because we were doing some stuff at Seton Hall, the networking that we got from him being on the court gave him the extension to New Jersey. And that same extension was guys who came to camp from Long Island. So all of this to say is, think about your networking ability, of your listening skills, your communication skills, and being a good partner, even off the court. And at a camp, you both can look comfortable without feeling that you're nervous or something that you shouldn't be feeling, because you just met that person. So even though you ride to camp with someone, you know you're going to be riding home with them. You don't have to sit up under that person. That tells you to learn how to communicate. Kevin, are you there? Kevin Sparrow? Mike Bellion.
Hey, Bernard, I'm here. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, can you give us a little bit of critiquing about camps and camp life?
Wow, I apologize for being late as well. I was in the midst of doing some work. I'm glad I got an opportunity to get on. This was awesome. The stuff that I did here was awesome. My thoughts were like, for camps, I was blessed very early on that I'm blessed that Leroy Hendricks actually is the first person who taught me 3-person camp really early in my career. And that was extremely instrumental. The advice I always give people is I've just learned to just, shut up and just listen. I didn't know anything about officiating when I started out, other than watching what they did. So everything someone said always sounded golden to me. In every camp I've gone to, I've always learned something from it. And not everyone learns the same way. I'm an artist, so I pick up on things differently, visually. You can write it to me, say it to me 1,000 times. Like I don't get it, but I've learned that for me, seeing things visually and then, coming back to it in the rules was always helpful for me. I was blessed that I met Ronnie Dunn very early in my career, and he was a great teacher. He's a great teacher in the world of officiating. So. I've always tried to align myself with people who were good teachers, opposed to people who were, I didn't know what a good official was, that other than I thought every referee who was doing college and every referee who was doing the pros was great, so I didn't know anything different. So, but no, it's camps are, I always thought that camps were for hiring. You know, during the season, you can mess the game up to death, but if you get hired, the regular season never felt like it mattered sometimes to me. It always mattered that you were, you did well in camp. I've seen some great officials, some good officials make it through camp very well and were terrible in the officiating ranks. And I've seen some officials struggle in camp, never get hired when they were really good, So I think camps are like sometimes the most important part of your career and how you prepare for it. Professionally, emotionally is it's extremely important. But that's all I got. I thought this was awesome. What I heard. But thanks for having me on again, Bernard. I always appreciate this these forums. These are great.
Bernard, you're on mute. You're on mute, Bernard.
Sorry about that. I enjoy you just being here and being part of what we do. Knowing you come out of 42, 33 may have stole you, but but we know where you come from and your roots are. And so we really appreciate you always being able to give some generous feedback that I think is important for the referee community. Mike Melione, give us a little bit about what's going on in that camp life that we know that you're always involved with yourself.
Absolutely. So, I apologize, as you can probably see, I'm driving, but I gotta say that presentation, Felix, that you put on is probably one of the most comprehensive I've seen, on paper. So anybody that got in late or whatever, hopefully, Bernard, you can get a copy and send it out because it was really good stuff. I think the thing that we need to get in our head is that it doesn't matter if it's your first year or your 25th year, you need to go to camp. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to go to a tryout camp, but I would venture to say every single year, at the very least, you need to find a teaching camp that is going to help you fix things that you don't even know you do wrong. And more importantly, to update your knowledge of officiating. Every year, things change. Players get smarter, coaches get smarter. And if you're not plugging yourself in and learning how they're changing, then you're getting yourself farther and farther behind. Every single year since I've started officiating, well, that's not true. I didn't start till year 3 because I didn't know any better. But once I went to my first camp, every single year since then, I've gone to at least one teaching camp every summer, in addition to any other tryout camps or whatever have you that I may go to. But it's really important for me to go to that teaching camp because when you go to that teaching camp, there's no pressure. That's where you are encouraged to make mistakes. That's where you're encouraged to screw up because there's no negative consequences other than you feel bad for that period of time after the game like we all do. But you're not going to hurt yourself by making mistakes at a teaching camp. Now you take that same mistake and you put it into a tryout camp. Well, maybe now that mistake was something that separates you from somebody else in a bad way. And yes, you're going to learn from it, but now it costs more, right? So I encourage everybody, find a teaching camp. And no matter what level you're at, unless you're in the NBA, there is a teaching camp that you can learn from. And even at the NBA level, they don't call it, well, they do. They call it training camp. At the beginning of the season, they all get together and they're working and talking and meeting and going over stuff. So no matter what level you work, whether it's middle school, whether it's, major Division I basketball, there is a teaching camp out there, and find the experts who are at a level higher than you, teaching higher concepts than you, and go there and learn. And, just like the players, they're going to camp. The players are practicing. We can't be so egotistical to think that, well, I'm just going to work 50 games and that's how I'm going to get better. Well, the players aren't just playing games. We can't just work games.
That's a very good point, Mike, and I appreciate that feedback, because there's too many officials that take the road that we look at and not the educational road. They take it as, oh, I did 15 games or I did 20 games, so that means I should move up to another level, you know, or I should go to a college camp and I should be hired automatically into a college camp. Those are not the way that it should be worked. You may think of it in that aspect of trying to go down the road real quick, but it will catch you. And when it catches you, what will happen is then you won't get any games and you lose confidence. And what you do is you go badmouth the camp or the individual who is running the camp instead of critiquing yourself and taking the steps. I'll always use this focus: crawl, walk, jog, and then run. If you are an official and you're going to go up that ladder, trust me, if somebody sees you, they will get you to the top of that ladder as quickly as you deserve it.
Absolutely.
If you try to get there before, what's going to happen is, like Felix said earlier, that bad news travels quicker than the good news. And that bad news may be the lifeline that you was trying to get in order to become the better official that you want to become. Mike, you would like to add a few words?
The only thing left I want to say, I think Mr. Leroy said it great. You know, think of it as a pyramid, right? We'll take that pyramid and make it a mountain, okay? Nobody ever just woke up and got to the top of that mountain. They had to climb. And so, like Mr. Leroy said, that foundation, you can't get to the top without building that foundation. And every rung along the way, you just continue to pull yourself up, and eventually you'll find yourself at the top. And like Felix said, the top doesn't mean NBA. The top means whatever that means for you, and that's okay. Not everybody can work at the NBA level. Not everybody can work at the Division I level, but we need good officials who care about the game at all levels. And because you're on this call tonight, you're one of those people that care, or you would be out watching some other game or hanging out or doing something else, but you're making the commitment. And so I think, you know, that in and of itself is a commendable thing. And I'm proud to be a part of that journey. And Bernard, thank you for continuing to have me on these calls.
I appreciate you and all that you have done to help support it. We do have a lot of officials that we're trying to reach to understand the goods that come out of these, all the nuggets that come out of these little Zoom sessions are something that we can all grow from and learn from. Mike Howard and I, Dennis West and George Castellano and Nappy, we are all on that educational committee for Board 42. And I'm looking forward to getting our first camp up and running. I've been in communications with some folks and I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to have some local camps and some of the travelers that want to come up, I'm hoping that they will come up. Mike already said we got Leroy on one day. We may get Felix to come across the water and he'll be a lecturer for an hour or so. And then we'll pay for lunch. So those are the type of things that I'm looking forward to. Kenny Jordan was on with us earlier. Kenny and I have been talking a lot about how do we merge a lot of the educational pieces together between 37 and 42 and 119, because we're all IAABO members. And because we're all IAABO members, we should be looking for the betterment of IAABO. And I think we can do that, and we will do that. And I feel so confident in what we're planning to do coming up for this summer and getting folks ready, because my goal is to help the educational committee, and my experience and knowledge and exposure to a lot of it is to share that knowledge and get everyone to the local camps first and get them prepared to go to either higher level training camps to possibly getting an invitation to a tryout camp because you're more prepared. When somebody sees your eye at a training camp and they see the way you handled yourself, they may make a phone call and get you an opportunity for a tryout camp. And generally, that's how it would work. You're not going to just put your dollar sign in front of somebody and say, I want to go to your tryout camp. And that's when it's just the money. And then what are you going there for? And if you don't get a job, now you're bad-mouthing the camp, you're bad-mouthing people. And like we said, that bad news get out very quickly. Felix, would you like to add something?
Yeah, nothing wrong with being from Board 33 now. Don't hold that against Kevin.
No.
Well, I'll quote my old mentor, Edgar Cortado, who said, if you've been doing it wrong for 15 years, you've been doing it wrong. Doesn't mean that you got any better by doing it wrong for 15 years. So no, I appreciate this, Bernard. What you're doing is in your own subset is what we're hoping happens throughout all IAABO land. And we're there to help. You need curriculum, you need things and learning materials for your camps. Just give us a ring and we'll see what we can do in providing something for you. So IAABO's here for, the interpreters and secretaries, but we're really made up of 15,000 members. And without members, we have no organization. So we appreciate everybody who participates. So thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything. For all that you don't know, Donnie was actually on earlier, and he's up in, Idaho?
Iowa. Yeah, he's got Iowa. 9 o'clock tip.
Yeah, so he had to get off, but he wanted to say hello to everybody, but he did jump on. That's Felix's right hand,
Felix's two hands.
But we have Michael Hunter. I hate for us never to hear your voice because you stay up in London until 1 o'clock in the morning to hang out with us. So tell us a little bit about what's been going on, and is any camps or anything that you know of that's going on in London?
No, so first of all, hi everybody. It's a pleasure to see you all. I'm looking at the gallery view. It's great. It's fantastic to be here with everyone. Felix, thank you very much for the presentation, and for everyone who's had a chance to contribute. It's been fantastic. There's not a whole lot going on here in London. We have an exit strategy for heading out of lockdown, but nothing really. And I've had the pleasure of being in camps in Denmark, in Poland, here in the UK, and we're just kind of waiting to see how things go. Ideally, everyone here in the UK will have, or the majority of people in the UK will have a vaccine by July. And so the start of the new season will be in the middle of September. So there probably will be some camps and everything around August, and some pro-amps and everything. But all the stuff that everyone has said applies. To be a good listener, to understand the rules, to come prepared, to know what you want to get out of it. And so the same lessons that have been talked about tonight apply no matter if you're working high school, Division I, WNBA, G League, NBA, or FIBA rules and mechanics. So it's been well received. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I always love just to get you on to say hello and say a few words, because I appreciate you staying up in your time zone to hang out with us to show your support and this knowledge that you can get. Thank you. Michael Howard, would you like to say a few words before we get ready to close out?
I would just like to say in closing, and it was something that was said a long time ago, education is the most powerful tool one can use. And as long as we stay educated, we will be powerful. Continue to use and focus on the education.
Thank you so much. With that being said, this evening, we are probably closing up a little bit earlier. We went over a couple of minutes last week, so I'm going to give that back to you. I appreciate everyone jumping on. Leroy, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And we'll be talking.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, Lee. So everyone, thank you for taking the time. Again, Felix, super job.
Okay,
I'd like to get a copy of the presentation.
Sure.
Ralph, would you like to say a few words before we close?
Yeah, just really quickly, I don't want to be too long-winded. I want to thank Felix Addeo for that dynamite presentation. My son also thanks Felix for the presentation. But one thing I wanted to say was, hold on, Mason. Let me speak. One thing I wanted to say is that in the beginning, when you start officiating, your mind is so insular, you don't really know too much. But then as your mind expands, you realize how much there really is to learn in this game. So that's why I'm always thankful. I don't know who's on this. I think that's
Leroy, mute your phone. There you go.
I was going to say that as my mind expanded, it really triggered something in me when I saw Felix's quote when it says that knowledge in the dark. I know exactly what that means. That's why I'm so thankful that I feel like I saw the light when I met somebody like Bernard, who has been very instrumental in helping me guide and navigate, because there is not a one-size-fits-all path to get successful into this. And I'm fortunate enough to have a mentor that really guides me in certain situations. And you know, I think one thing is to always aspire to get as far as you can, but also be very happy at where you're at and do the best you can possibly do at the level that you're at, because I do truly believe in what everyone has been saying, that they will find you if you do such a great job at the level where you're at. It doesn't matter if it's a JV game. If you're doing what you need to do on the court, they will find you. So, you know, I just implore everyone to try to find a mentor that is looking out for your best interest. And at the same time, when it comes to being knowledgeable, you know, make sure that you think and be realistic to yourself. First time I spoke to Bernard, he asked me, "Are you trying to get to the NBA?" I said, "No." And he's like, "Good, because you're already too old." And, you know, as much as that might have been a stab, it wasn't in the back, it was in the front. And I appreciate every time he says something like that. So those types of words of encouragement, you could take that as suggestive criticism or only for the betterment of me. So I thank you, Bernard, and I thank everybody on this call. And that's all I got. Have a good night, everybody.
Ralph, thank you. I would not be able to do this by myself without you. So kudos to you. And just in our conversation that kicked us off to doing what we did, as we said, we started out with 12 people, and throughout the year, we've had up to 75 people or 80 people. There's a lot of knowledge that's being missing or lost by not staying on or getting on. But you guys and young ladies are the advertisements, and you got to let them all know that there's sure enough gems that are being given to and shared, and you're not paying for it. You're taking some time to learn. So thank you again, and I appreciate you all. Look forward to next week. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Take care, Mike.
Good night.
Bush, I'll talk to you.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Bernard.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.